welcome back to another glorious episode of the BoomBastiCAST. Now, this is a very special episode for two reasons. One, the return of Alexander Hawk from Texasville, USA, shooting Devil's Night. Fantastic film. We're talking Daniel Baldwin, Kevin Sorbo, Angie Everhart, Eric Roberts. You know, Eric Roberts ain't no stranger to the Boombastic Boys. No, sirree, Bob. I think this is probably the third or fourth time we've had an outing with Eric Roberts, if I remember correctly. Yeah. And this one is solely you this time around, but we've all worked with him on more than one occasion.
Yeah, and it's unfortunately I do have the bad luck of not having a scene with Eric Roberts.
That's horrifying.
I didn't get to see him, but I saw him in passing, and but I did get to work with Angie Everhart, Kevin Sorbo, and I did get to see Daniel Baldwin when he arrived to set. So, and also it was a great experience. It's definitely a lot of fun. I know people always say, so when is the movies coming out? Well, you can't 100% know, because not only do you have to edit it, then you have to send it to a distributor, and you know how distributors are. They take their time to release anything. But the hope is 2023, most likely 2024. Can't wait till it's out. I had a lot of fun on set, and I loved working with Angie Everhart. She's great. That's all I have to say on that.
Hawkman's killing it. Now, Angie Everhart worked in a film called Blunt Movie with our guest this evening, the great Bob Levy, stand-up comedian. You've probably seen this dude all over the place, you know, radio personality. As a young child, I remember, you know, the Howard Stern Show and Opie and Anthony, and he's still killing it. He's going on, you know, Anthony Cumia's Show, present day, you know, him and Shuli from the Stern Show, they got a little stuff going on. Very cool. You know, I kind of put Bob in the category with Ralph Sutton a little bit, where we're diving into radio podcast people that we have nothing but gigantic respect for, and give gigantic kudos to. So, like I said, the great Bob Levy on the show today. We're gonna hear about some ass eating, you know what I mean, blue cheese style. We're gonna hear about, you know, some, you know, what it's like to work within the porno business, you know what I mean. We're gonna dap into some wrestling, which was very interesting. The funnest fact that I stumbled on that I had no idea about when doing some more research on Bob was the wrestling element of it, you know what I mean, where he was Heartbreaker, Bobby Slayer. You know what I mean? And if I could go back in time, perhaps I would ask him where that name came from. I know that he said he was going for kind of teaser, spoiler alert, a Shawn Michaels type character. So that makes sense. You know what I mean? I wonder if he was a fan of the band Slayer, and that's how it worked in there. And fun fact, the Seasons of in the Abyss, the Slayer album, showed up at my house today. Imagine that. Ooh. The record, man. Fuck. And with you have luck like that, you don't need anything else. And when you don't need anything else, you move forward. And when you move forward, you enter the episode with Bob Levy. So without any further ado, here we are. Bob Levy, welcome to the BoomBastiCAST. Bob, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. Good to be here.
Hey, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. So, you know, one thing that I thought was very, you know, for the folk, well, we already had the intro going, but for the folks out there that don't know, I thought this was very interesting. You know, in your earlier years, you got into some semi-pro wrestling.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, man. It's crazy, but it's fun, you know.
Heartbreaker. It was a Heartbreaker.
Yeah. Bobby Slayer, baby. Yes. I got into that only because well, my neighbor was a professional wrestler, and he had a training place, the Monster Factory. Yeah. And then I ended up doing Shane McMahon's bachelor party on a boat with Jim Norton. And it's like they liked me there, but it was like, you know, it was Pat Patterson who liked me, so he probably had different reasons.
Yeah.
So, you know, they said just like Vince said, you need training, you know what I mean? Just in case, you know, if you get an audition or whatever. But nothing ever happened from it. But I did it for like 3 years. I had fun. It's a lot of painful shit. People don't realize that it's fake, but it's real. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think I've been hurt in any other sport like that, you know?
Yeah, I was a child of the 80s and 90s, so WWF was pretty huge in my life. And
Mm-hmm.
I went through that era of the backyard wrestling with, you know, the thumbtacks and the fluorescent fucking light bulbs and all that
Oh, yeah.
bullshit. But yeah, that's so as a kid, were you a fan of wrestling or just,
Oh yeah. I mean, like I lived like when I lived in Staten Island, like we had the one house with my parents, and then it was like a father-daughter house, and then my grandparents lived in the place, you know, around the corner. They had an entrance there, and my grandfather loved wrestling. He used to just fucking go crazy. He was so pissed, like when a match would not end at like fucking, it would start at midnight and then go to 1.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, "We'll be back next week," and he'd just start fucking, you know, cursing, fucking swinging his cane around. But he loved it.
And you do like the high school wrestling shows and such, like that level?
No, I never did that.
Never did that level?
No, I think that might have been a little gay, you know, at that point, you know.
Well, not wrestling, not like high school, but like I know when I was a kid, we couldn't go to the big WWF events, but every like would have the big stars come around with some jobbers to the old
Oh,
like
really?
our high schools. So our high schools
Oh.
is where we'd be able to go see them.
Oh yeah. No, I never seen any of those. I remember I was devastated. I couldn't get into anywhere to see WrestleMania 1.
Yeah.
And that devastated me. You know, it was like, fuck, because I watched it every week. I knew everything that was going on. You know, like if you miss one, you miss one back then. You know, it wasn't like you could tape it, you know, whatever. It was like, you know, it was early before all this shit.
Yeah.
It was an amazing time. It made you want to be home.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I know, you know, you always hear that the locker room stories are just as crazy as, you know, and, you know, like the background back in the green room of a comedy club and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of crossovers. You did when you kind of started doing the comedy thing. Did you notice any like big comparisons between the two businesses there?
Yeah, drugs and fucking alcohol and fucking womenizing and yeah. I mean, I mean, I was in comedy before that, you know, before I got into the wrestling, but it was it's cool. Like wrestling, you know, you have to trust the people you're working with, otherwise you can get really fucked up. You know, I've seen people fucking just laying there, you know, get pretty fucked up, and that was that was it. You know, I think they paid like $4,000 to get the training. I think that's what it was. But you'd learn, you know, people would learn right away, you know. And I mean, I was 34 by the time, you know, I started. I was like a broken down Shawn Michaels by then, but everybody else, you know, a lot of them were 18 and, you know, they had dreams, you know. I was just having fun, really.
Yeah, it's a crazy business. You know, I had friends that did the backyard wrestling stuff. The two of them went off to go. They went to like Killer Kowalski's school out in we're in New England out here, and they did a couple. I know one of them got to wrestle the Nasty Boys. That was like his achievement. I might have been Brian Knobbs. I forget which one it was.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Like I got to see, like I never wrestled anyone like that, but I remember like Balls Mahoney did some shows with the guy. Like you get some of the guys come in. I think Shane Douglas it was. Like he was amazing. I thought, you know, the way he could take a bump like I'd never seen, you know, a back bump. It looked like it was like he was hitting water. It was just like so smooth.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Balls Mahoney. Shane Douglas, I think, still with us.
I don't know, and who knows? You know what I mean? They don't live long. You know what I mean? They're like dogs. You know, they're like fucking dogs. They fucking live like a wrestling year is like it's amazing. And we got to tour with comedy with the Iron Sheik, which was funny. Like he was a great guy. You know, he's cool as fuck. You know, but he couldn't move. He couldn't. You know, if we had to walk up to the theater into the up steps and that to get up. He couldn't do it. So he sat, we'd make him somewhere on the stage so they couldn't see him. We got him beers and everything, and he stayed there until he was able to go up. But he was a lot of fun. It was like just to hear his stories and just everything, and hanging out with a legend like that in wrestling, because he was the ultimate bad guy before Hogan. I mean, those were the days. That was crazy.
Yeah.
People were mad in the audience, like, they couldn't go in. Like today, you can go out, you know what I mean?
Right.
Then, like, you go out, you're going to get into a fight. Somebody's going to try to attack you, which is crazy to think about it.
They're trying to kill you, like when the Freddie Blassie, somebody stabbed him or something like that in the parking lot.
Yeah, a lot of people got, stabbed, fucking shit. Like a lot of the wrestlers were nuts anyway, you know what I mean? Like I seen a thing on what was it, New Jack? You see that thing on New Jack? I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this guy was fucking crazy, and the shit that he threw that guy off the ring. Like he goes, yeah, I tried to kill him. It's just trying to get even. It's just it's insane. What Don Morocco was it that got killed, or somebody got killed? He got by somebody. It's fucked up. I'm sure the people were betting on that shit too.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, you better lose. I mean, imagine betting on wrestling.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fucking gambling problem. But
Yeah.
it was amazing. Like, what do you guys think of the wrestling today? Like, what compared to what it was? Like, I kind of think there's no storylines. It happens too fast and it ends too fast without a reason.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
It's just not, like, I can't get hooked on it anymore. I can't, if it's on, I'll watch it and go, okay. But like, what is it? AEW, the matches that they do, some people do like 10 closing moves and the people are still getting up. And it's like, you can't, that's too much.
Right.
And it's too much for me. I like, when I watch it, I'm like, all right, this is just, it's way, and they miss a lot of moves. I noticed, they miss a lot more than WWE do. Like, you can watch AEW, you're going to watch at least 2 big moves totally missed every week.
Yeah. I remember I went to a WWF taping maybe 15 years ago, back when like Stone Cold was the big deal. And there was a gimmick where he came out and he shot, I think it was when NWO first came over, and he shot like a big net at him in the ring. And I remember that they had to do it 2 or 3 times because it didn't work. And I remember just really the curtain being peeled back, being like, oh, this is like super duper. So what you see on TV is all cut down. There could have been a major mishaps.
Yeah, but they kind of go live now, which is like crazy. Totally like basically live. Maybe a few second delay. They might have started that after Owen Hart,
Right.
Because that was fucking brutal.
That was, yeah.
I don't get shit like that, That's like, why do you need him to come down from there,
Well, they got their theories that Vinny was upset with the family and stuff like that, and just wanted to kind of scare him a little bit or hassle him. And I wasn't trying to kill him. That'd be to find out that dark truth one day. That'd be kind of crazy that it was, killed him off. But yeah, I think that the wrestling's changed. I think because of, like you were saying, with how it's live, it's almost like it's everywhere now. We're back in the day, like Hulk Hogan would tour for a year, like fighting with the Iron Sheik. Like they would be main event for like a whole year touring around. You'd have to kind of go and see it and keep up. And the TV shows would keep you kind of in the loop, but like, you're still kind of distant. But nowadays there's everything, especially with social media. Social media is probably horrible for those wrestlers too, because you can never really, that gimmick that, that bad guy gimmick that you would have to sell like Sheik would back in the day, where they'd really hate him. You can't really do that anymore. I think people are afraid to kind of be that hated, you know what I mean, in a way, because certain people will do crazy things,
Oh yeah, it's a crazy world right now, when people are fucking attacking comedians, you're like, what the fuck, it's like, but people are just fucked up now. Some people should have stayed in the house longer during COVID afterwards and instead of coming out, because they weren't ready, and they're still not ready right now. But like for the wrestlers, I love that, like, the matches, you had the match down so well after, a few weeks, and then you're doing it the whole year basically. And it was amazing. It was like, it was weird to even like, everybody was hooked on wrestling when they fought like Barry Horowitz. Like, somebody came, you knew that they were not going to win. You knew it was going to end in like 2-3 minutes, and you were still hooked in it. But there was maybe one match that they showed that was two guys that you were like, oh, maybe this could happen, or a tag team, that maybe somebody can beat them. But otherwise, you knew that these people weren't going to win. And it was still exciting back then because it was built up for other stuff.
Right.
And the manager, what do you think? I think the managers back then made it. When, the women managers, you know what I mean? I didn't like it because, you really can't, you like when Slick got caught, when he was running and he got caught, or Blassie or Albano, you know what I mean? Like, that's when the place went nuts. But it's like a woman, like Miss Elizabeth was great only because it was Macho Man.
She was
that changed the whole thing. Like, that was like, I believe he came in 86, I believe, or somewhere right around it. And it was just shocking. And the way everybody, like, I loved him right off the bat. I was like, this guy's fucking good, and the elbow take people out, the fucking elbow off the top rope. And you're like, that, like, like a DDT, you seen that back then. That was the end of the match. Now it's like the third move sometimes. And you're like, what the fuck is going on? It's like, it's really too much. It's too, you got, if you're going to make it real, you have to at least have, I can see a full Nelson not taking anybody out, like Billy Jack Haynes used to take people out with the full. I can't believe I still know these names. Like, it's amazing. But that was your childhood, and you didn't really tell everybody you liked wrestling like that, but you would, when somebody else hinted, you would like, hey, you like wrestling too? But then you can talk about it. It was just an amazing thing. And you see it live and you're like, okay, now you can see, like, anything on TV looks easier than this. Like going to a hockey game, you go to a hockey game, you're like, holy shit, look at these guys. You can see them, you hear the ice, you hear everything, and it's different. And then you watch it on TV and you're like, wow, this is like really amazing. So it's like, if you see wrestling live, it's amazing. And during COVID, when we weren't allowed to have anybody in the audience, that was the part I was like, I told my wife, I said, I have to watch this. She goes, what? Why would you? Well, I go, this is going to show you who's really good, who's really good on the mic, and who's really good in the ring, because you are talking to nobody when you're wrestling, and you're yelling at nobody. You're yelling at a camera, and that's the shit that, you were trained to do that. And that's where you're going to shine. That's where I'm sure, I didn't watch it enough to know who was coming up then, but I guarantee the best people that were good at that shit really moved in the business at that time, because that was your time to shine in front of nobody.
Right. Yeah. It was definitely personalities. Now it's more just bodies. Like, whoever's they got their characters and all that, but there's nothing too crazy. Like, that Bray Wyatt character was kind of refreshing. I remember not too long ago, because he was, mystique in the darkness. Like, you take the Undertaker, who, you were afraid of the Undertaker. He demanded like respect. And like, I think that's how you could really sell in the older time. That's how you could really sell somebody giving you a clothesline or a DDT and you being wiped out by it, because you believe that persona so much that it was like, of course it would wipe me out. You know what I mean?
Now, what happened to Bray Wyatt now? He got cut, right? Am I right about?
Yeah, something weird happened with him where they cut him over, I think, creative differences or something weird. He was doing weird video, like they were for like his gimmick deal, but like it was they were like, I remember when he got let go, people were talking about how they were kind of foreseeing the future a little bit, or they were like very wacky. But yeah, I don't know where he ended up. He could go to one of the smaller places and probably kill, you know what I mean?
Yeah. he'll make a lot of money there. But like to let him go, to me, he was one of the few that I did want to see. You
Yeah.
know, I loved like characters like that you don't see them. It's like, you know, they come now, they're like, first they're happy, then they're bad guy. You know what I mean? They come and they're jumping around, clapping. You know, they're like Tom Zink when he, you know, high-fiving everybody and, you know, all happy and jumping around. And but you know, when they go bad, it's like, okay, sometimes it's not going to work. It worked with The Rock. I mean, The Rock came in, you know, he was like a total douchebag. Everybody hated him as a good guy. And then when he finally turned, it grew into something that was basically, you know, The Rock, uh, Stone Cold, like that was when everybody liked the bad guy. And it was like, you can be a bad guy and still get love from the audience, which was something rare. And that all started it. And it was exciting. You know, it was like then the tag team thing kind of fell apart after a while. They didn't have much tag team. Like in the 80s, tag team was everything, I thought. You know, you had the Hart Foundation, the Killer Bees, fucking, even the Bushwhackers. They were fucking whatever, but it was entertaining, you know, because they were so nuts. And like usually wrestling guys, like if you go back then, there was wrestlers that looked like us, some of them, you know.
Right.
And you don't, it's sad that you don't see that anymore. You know, you really don't see that many.
Those were the more ones you'd be afraid of because they were like unstable working men, almost like the construction worker that had enough, and now he's gonna hacksaw Jim Duggan your head off. You know what I mean?
No, it was amazing. Like when I first started, I remember it was Milt Mascaris and Mascaris, whatever, and like all them guys. I guess that was WWF a long time ago. Then I found UWF with it was on like it was Universal Wrestling, maybe it was, it was on like a channel that you had to get the TV. You would turn it on whatever that channel was, and then you would go to the little thing and turn it, and then you had to bend the antenna just to get it. And that's when I think I seen like the rock and roll, like stuff like that, the Rock and Roll Express, and some people like on that one, the Garvins, maybe a long time ago, and then TBS came out, and then like then all of a sudden they started popping up everywhere, and you realize how many great wrestlers are, you know. But instead of going to one thing, like when WWE bought WCW, you know, they could have had like at the end of the year, everybody wrestle each other from other things. Would have been huge if that continued that way. You have to have competition to have greatness. You know, because then, you know, Vince would get lazy around there, and it started to fall again.
Yeah. And when they split it up like Raw and SmackDown, that was kind of a real lame era. Herb Abrams, I think ran that UWF one, and he had like a whole bunch of crazy. I remember he died, like they found him dead with like cocaine all over his body with like hookers.
Wow,
that was like a crazy story.
Yeah, that's the way to go, but you know, I mean, fucking, that's like, you know,
sounds like a great way to go.
He was covered in, I believe, Vaseline and cocaine. I don't know.
Wow. What that was. Thank God the hookers were there. That would have been a tough story to fucking explain, you know.
That's funny.
Yeah. No, it's insane. Like fucking, like I remember my neighbor said, I forget which wrestler it was, but he had his dog with him, right? And what they did was they gave the dog X-Lax, and then they put it and locked it in his car, and it shit all over his fucking car. You know, it's like they're so fucking like, you know, like that shit will get your ass kicked, you know, doing stuff like that. But they, you know, it was crazy. Like, you know, what are you gonna do? You're with people, it's family almost, and you're bus balls, you know, when you're off, and you know, you're with them. It's like when the Sheik and Hacksaw Jim Duggan got caught on the turnpike, you know, that was like, oh my God, you know, it's like that blew the lid off people that kind of thought it was real, you know, that might have thought, you know, hey, this is real. Oh, what's going on here? You just ruined everything for me.
Duggan was an American hero in his time as well.
Mm.
The thing with when you talk about Stone Cold and The Rock and the finishing move thing, I always think of those two when I think of The Rock took a stunner once and it was so hard, like he'd oversell it, and I used to hate that. Like he'd do a backflip, like he'd take it and do a backflip,
yeah,
and just make it all what it was. Just like like he took away from it. You know what I mean? Horrifying.
No, it was definitely a fun time. Like, when you see it, like, but then, people, the moves are getting more rougher, to close this, and Hogan's using the leg drop still.
Yeah.
It's like the funniest thing when, here comes the leg drop. Oh yeah, that's gonna fucking take somebody out,
Yeah, it's but you'd believe it with Hogan because all that massive power coming down on you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like WrestleMania 3, I watched a little of that again, and that was unbelievable. Like Savage, Steamboat. I mean, it was just unbelievable. That was the dance. Like you don't see shit like that. I don't think anybody can top that match. Have you seen a match? You guys see a match that was close to topping that?
No. That's kind of golden era type stuff for sure. Like the quality time. That's quality wrestling. You know what I mean?
And they had like Adrian Adonis, which was he kept getting fatter and fatter. But it was hilarious because that guy could move. He could move. He would be good in the ring. Like and him and Piper had some good matches. There was a lot of good shit that went on. It went on for a while. It did go on for a while. Even if it stopped for a while, they would be like, this is where the money is, Let's get them mad at each other again.
Piper was an animal too, man. He was the best. He wrote a book I gotta check out. Didn't Piper start doing comedy in like the later half of his life?
Yeah.
How was he?
I don't know. I never seen him. I got to work with Mick Foley. I'd say a bunch of times. It was pretty cool. We like he wouldn't curse. I remember we were in New York City and I go, why don't you do the joke like this? And I say it, he goes, that's a good joke, but I'm not going to use the fuck in it, because he would never curse. But he was good. Like I remember doing Vegas with him and we get there and I'm like, this will be good. Mick will do. And they're like, okay, Mick's going to close. And I'm like, there's no way Mick's following me, and he did, and I never forget that because I never thought he could. You know what I mean? I'm seasoned in this. You know what I mean? I know what I'm doing, and he fucking did it. And I remember like he couldn't move, like he's limping, and just the pain that he was in, like just doing normal things. Just trying to, walk and have something to eat. It was just fucking. It's horrible. I mean. He did what he knew what he was doing. He knew this was going to happen, but he loves it so much. Some of his matches are like fucking crazy. And ECW when he was there.
Oh yeah.
It's like he looked like the everyday guy. He did, what I mean? He was probably the last one that was like, but he's hurting today.
Oh yeah. That real fan turn. Wrestling type vibe. Mick Foley has like one of the weirdest brands. It's good, but it's like so weird because he's known for like some of the most violent wrestling of all time, but he writes like children's books now. You know what I mean? Like Mick Foley and Santa Claus Save Christmas type stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, the good thing about him, like you would think, he's crazy and that probably one of the nicest guys I ever met. Just a family guy, just trying to make money for the family, and just that's so important to him, which is really cool to see because you don't see that. You may not believe or agree with his politics, because he does speak it a lot now, but the fact is that I got to meet him and I forget that. Yeah. I have to blank that out because I know what a nice guy he is. Yeah. Like some people are like, I can't, you know what I mean? They're so fucking gone. But he was probably one of the nicest guys I ever met.
I met him briefly at a wrestling event, at a high school event. He was doing autograph signings. Yeah, him coming off the Hell in the Cell is probably the most violent thing I could think of in wrestling off the top of my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that was fucking brutal. I mean, like for him to get back in the ring after they're trying to get him out of there, and he comes back, and it's like, but that's legendary in his mind. He's like, this is going to make me a legend, and you have to do it if you're him. You have to do it no matter how bad you are at that moment, because that's the shit. And it's goes down in history as one of the most craziest, violent, unbelievable matches you ever seen.
Yeah. Legend was born, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it was so funny. I love the way that, you remember when they had the steel cages, like in the 80s, they were those big metal pipe, like it was,
tops,
it was so much different then, and like, I didn't get like the Starcade shit when they fucking, they did it in the air and all like, that's like, now you want to see them kind of wrestle, you want to see, because that was kind of weird, like slamming somebody on a mesh, like a fence, it was the bottom. But when like Mick went through that, and that, I mean, come on, man, I don't care. A backdrop. I remember when you had to do back, the back bumps, you're throwing yourself back when you're doing them by yourself. And if you don't do it right, you know what I mean? You don't tuck your head and that shit. It's fucking, you're in pain. Like all those things to even try to do a front flip, by yourself, you're like, my God, and even to go up on the ring and I would go, I'm not coming off of here. It's a lot higher than you think to be falling. And you see them, even when they come down and they like, who's the guy that does the guy that does the 2 feet on the chest from the top? Like, he's in the WWE, maybe he has an English accent or something like that. He's not huge. He's some kind of accent.
New or been
no? Would it be? What the fuck's his name? Now I can't think of it. He has the little bit of a goatee.
I think I know you're talking about.
Yeah, but he would do the 2 stomps. But imagine trying to do the 2 stomps on somebody and trying not to hurt them, and then being able to land. What's his name? It's something. Oh God, I just fucking had it again. I know it's gonna come to me when I think of it. I'll just yell it out.
Yeah. I was thinking William Regal, but that's before his time.
Yeah, no, it's one of the guys now. He's big too. He's Finn.
Finley?
No, not Finley. Finn. Or is it last something Finn? Oh God.
I haven't watched wrestling in a few years, I will say. I will admit. I'm more of like around that Stone Cold generation as I dipped off a little bit, but I still I got friends that heavily watch it, so I hear about all the new people and stuff,
Yeah. I mean, there's some good ones, that it's just no stories, it's just nothing compared to what it was. And Vince looks like shit now. Vince, I have a feeling that Vince is gonna, listen to him talk, and I go, he's gonna die soon. There's something going on,
I watched a little bit recently, and I seen him on the mic, and I was like, yeah, he looked I hate to say, he looks like how people look when they're in the coffin, and they got they're bloated up a little bit, but not quite. They get that face bloat type deal to them, and like that, unfortunately, you know what I mean. But he lived a good life. They'll give him the 10 gun salute when he goes, the 10 bell salute when he goes down.
And I watched one of those things about the wrestling, and they said that they were at a strip club, right? And Vince had all the wrestlers were there, and he goes, I want everyone to come up and give me their closing move on the fucking floor. And he took everybody's closing move on the fucking floor at a strip club.
Wow.
You see, that's fucking insane. You know what I mean? Because DDT, a lot of times your head does hit. You know what I mean? Because you're supposed to go kind of limp, and let them take you but your head hits, and it's brutal. It's fucking, a lot of these moves are kind of, especially on a fucking on a cement floor or something like that.
Yeah. like we stayed away from doing the pile driver too much because the pile driver with boom. I don't know how people don't get paralyzed all the time with the pile driver.
Well,
That's
they
like
did.
devastating. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why they stopped. I think that's the one that they stopped, right? You couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was a lot of fuck ups with that. The head's not perfectly, of course it's going to hit. Even the Undertaker probably fucked it up a few times. I think I think I've seen him fuck it up a couple times because if you slide down, you're in a bad thing, and there's nothing, you're going down, you're going head into the ring, and it gives, but it doesn't give like people think it does, especially anything around the ends of the ring. It's cement. It's like, because it's all the posts there, they were always made out of wood years ago, because you had that noise whenever you heard those big noises. It's all wood. And some of them have more bend than others. It have maybe the metal around the outsides, and then but the wood was it gave a little bit of a bounce, but it wasn't a lot of them were not much to and it didn't, you still felt it.
Yeah, I believe it's like a thin gym mat with plywood, and then there's like a spring, like a big spring in the middle that like gives it a little bit of bounce.
Yeah.
Yeah, even people out there they jump in their bed too hard, they get hurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's sad when fucking people can fuck themselves up of it. You know what I mean? Yeah, everybody like it's like, you got to know how to do this shit. You know what I mean? Like people would play like that and jump around the house. You fucking realize that you don't know how to land. You're too far. If anything off a little bit with anything, it's gonna hurt you in these things. That's why you have to be really good at what you're doing. That's why a lot of wrestlers didn't like to work with certain wrestlers because they were too stiff, as they call it, but you have to sell it, the right way.
Yeah. You gotta know what you're doing. And if they don't like you, they're definitely gonna hurt you.
Oh yeah. That's another thing. It's always great when you go back and you look at those matches and you go, oh yeah, they were pissed off and he was just fucking hitting them. And you can see it like fucking, I think like not Goldberg, who's Brock Lesnar was, he'd fuck people up because he didn't know what he was doing really, with punches and that shit. And he's just a huge guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd rather wrestle like Ric Flair they say he can have the greatest match with himself, which was the most incredible thing I ever heard about that because he could, Yeah. He knew exactly what he was doing in that ring.
Yeah, for sure. I'll give Brock credit too because Brock is a very intimidating villain.
Mm-hmm.
Like he is probably one of the most scarier dudes of current times because he jumps back and forth. And he'll do the ultimate fighting, and then he'll come back and do the wrestling. And if you're willing to go get punched in the face, that's a little more horrifying. Because some of the wrestlers, a lot of it's theatrics. You know what I mean? They're not really tough guys, but when you're willing to jump in and get punched in the face, you kind of like that the violence, if you will.
Like which wrestlers like scared you when you were younger? Like really scared? Like if you were they came out, you would be scared if you seen them.
Oh, I'd say Undertaker, Papa Shango scared me.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see here. I liked to go back to managers. What's his name? It's killing me. I'm Undertaker, Paul
Bearer.
Yeah, Paul Bearer. I can't believe I spaced on his name, but I love Paul Bearer. He was so creepy, but he's probably one of my faves. Jake the Snake was a little, he was like a dude that he wasn't like scary like the Undertaker, but he was like a shiesty dude. He might be one of the first shiesty characters I ever like encountered. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like when I was younger, the ones that the missing link was somebody that was like, oh my God, that would terrify. And Abdullah the Butcher.
Abdul the Butcher is horrifying. He'll carve you up. You know what I mean? Like legit, he's scary. He's a scary figure.
Even his head was like ripped up. Like he'd cut himself, I think. Like he just as a goof. And what do he have? Like a fork in that shit too? Like
fork, yeah. He had his own like rib shack too. Like he had a little restaurant somewhere. I remember if you could go there and you could buy his memorabilia, which was like his matches taped on like his own personal VHS. So like
Okay.
you'd every now and then you'd stumble into like in the middle of a match, it would be like Abdullah's like kid's birthday party, and then there would be like 10 minutes of that, and then it would finish the match or whatever. Yeah, Abdullah's still with us too, I believe, which is kind of a crazy thought. I think he got in trouble a little while ago because I think he has Hep C and fucking I think
Really?
he bladed somebody. I think he bladed somebody and gave the gift that keeps giving to him or something like
Oh,
that.
geez, that's
Yeah.
fucking crazy. Yeah, I love that. Like, it's so funny when somebody like a wrestler like opens up their own business, because you don't
Yeah.
expect, like a rib thing. It's like, oh yeah, go to, I can see him cutting up the ribs.
Yeah. What do you think about when they joined politics like Kane and Rhino did?
Rhino, I don't know anything about with
Yeah.
that, but yeah, Kane is like he's a different person now. Like I watched that thing when they go searching for things from the past in the WWE to try to get it back from fans and that shit or collectors. And it was amazing to see, like he's in a fucking, and even the Undertaker's going, it's like, I can't believe him, with like, you're the governor or whatever you are right now,
Yeah.
but you can see, that some of these people are just normal, some of them aren't normal, but some of them are, a lot of them are just fucking normal people.
Yeah.
And people don't, it's like a dream. And who else did I seen something about, which was the Road Warrior thing. Did you watch that one on that they showed on
Hawk on Dark Side of the Ring?
Yeah, I just seen that the other night. I was like, wow.
I don't know if I seen the Road Warrior one. It was good.
Oh, it was really good. It was on the other night, and it's just like these guys were badass. All these guys from Minnesota, they were badass people in real life, and they just got them all together, or they heard about them, and then they put Animal and Hawk together, and like they looked like they were in a gay bar when they first came out with the outfits. It was like brutal. It was like I was like, I didn't remember that. Like I kind of remember seeing them. It might have been somewhere around 86, 88, maybe, or something like that. But they were like just at the beginning. Might have been 90. I don't even know exact time, but when you seen them, you were like, this is something.
They're scary. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, but you never thought they would even lose. I don't remember really seeing them lose, but I'm sure that they had to lose, to build shit up.
Yeah, they would manhandle people. Like when they would do the clothesline, and they would give their all, and then just like knock your head off. That was their big finishing move when they had them. They put them up on the shoulders and they do that clothesline, dude.
Yeah.
They, like almost every time looked like that person was gonna die doing that.
Well, yeah, because they would he would flip them. He wouldn't just go back with them. He'd flip them and let them take off when they hit him. And it was like, this is not going to end right all the time. Something like that, like some like to take like some of the people that I thought was able to sell a move incredibly sick was like, Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels was able to, and that's what it was great watching. Like you never thought Shawn Michaels was going to go that big.
Yeah.
When he was with Marty Jannetty, they're like, the little guys, and even though he started working out and that shit, but he was good. He got big, but he was still a small guy.
Yeah.
Some of these guys weren't big at all. Like Chris Benoit was small. All those guys back then, but they go nuts after a while.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. That's what they say. A little bit nuts,
The poor Chris Benoit, his height deficiency that got him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hop over into radio. You want to hop over into some radio talk?
Sure.
Now, you I believe did you meet Jackie the Joke Man Martling he was doing an open mic?
Yeah, he was hosting it. Yeah.
And is that, I know that when you guys linked up with the Howard Stern show, you started with kind of like song parodies and writing jokes and stuff and sending it in.
No,
No?
I
Oh, my bad.
yeah, no, I basically we used to listen to Howard,
Yeah.
and we used to hang out at this bar, and my job was to, if people came in and we didn't know, I'd bust their balls until they wanted to fight us.
Yeah.
So my friend goes, "You're pretty funny," and we used to listen to Howard all the time, and my friend goes, "You should try comedy. Jackie's got the open mic there." So I started there, and then like the second show, I fucking died horribly, and he just said at the end, "How about a hand for the Reverend?" And that stuck. But then when Howard had the meanest listener contest, and I was on once because he heard about the ass eating thing on stage, and I just did a call, and then that contest happened, and I would just roast. I would send in, tapes of roast. I'd go across the street to my neighbor. He had a taping thing, and I'd sit there, just go, "No, fucking Howard," or "No, Robin," and I just tape it and send it in. Then, like, I was only supposed to send in one, but I sent in like 3 or 4 on different people. Then the contest came, and I ended up winning that contest, the meanest listener contest, and that was like the start of me sitting in like every 2 months, 3 months, and then it came, other things came up that I was able to do and send bits, and like I was a team player. You want to the more you can do, the more you'll get on.
Yeah.
And it was your favorite show, and it's like it was an amazing 8 year run. Yeah, so you can't complain. And I did Miserable Men from that. We did that show on Howard 101. That was like, we went from 1 hour to 4 hours every Sunday, and we still do Miserable Men now. We got it back on Patreon, and we're having fun with that. But it was like, it was a time where almost anything went. You can do almost anything except violence. That was the only rule. Because people got heated. So they just made it like that. And Artie, he comes sometimes, threw shit at people and chased them, but thank God nothing happened then. But it was a crazy time, and I was started like with Kid Chris at the same time. He was on regular radio, and we were having a ball. Like, it was just like mornings with him, afternoons. It was mornings with Howard, afternoons with Kid Chris, and it was just, I learned everything about wrestling, about radio from them. I learned a lot more probably from Kid Chris, because he got it. He would go with the wrestling angles. He would say it's like wrestling. Like, we had a crippled guy, Brad the Cripple.
Yeah.
We didn't want people to feel bad for him, so we made him we would write lines where when we go into Philadelphia, he's attacking all the fat women in Philadelphia, all the pigs, and they fucking hated him. I remember in San Antonio, we came on stage, we had to carry his wheelchair up. It was really heavy. We get up there, they're just throwing fucking beers at him, in the cups and the shit all over the place. That's how much because that's what you learn from Chris. He's a genius at wrestling too, because he loves it. He did wrestling too, but he knew everything about wrestling angles, and we would just sit there writing. Like, I'd sit there when the show was live, and I'm writing. Okay, they have a guest, have fucking Brad call in with some lines to attack a guest or some, and it was like, and that was back in what, 2002, and he just knew what he was doing. He knew how to do fucking great radio on regular radio, which I love, because it's different. You have to tell more of a story, on when you can curse and all that shit. It's brutal. It's like, fuck you, you're a piece of shit. You have to tell people when it's clean why he's a piece of shit, why you don't like them. So it tells a better story. That's why I kind of like that better.
Yeah, you're on some legendary. Opie and Anthony, of course, that was huge around here in the Boston area.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to come in really. I was like, and then like now I'm on Cumia all the time on Compound Media, and when you work with him, it's just so it's like every time it's going to be great. It's not going to be good. It's going to be great, because when you when you work with, when you're on there with somebody like him, it's easy. It's easier, and you should be able to take it higher than what you can normally do with anyone else.
Sure.
And that's like with Kevin Brennan. When I work with him, it's the same thing, because you got to understand these people. You got to understand how brilliant they are, and what, you can just throw them a little thing and they'll run with it, and they know the same thing. They can say anything and you can run with it.
Yeah.
So it's a great, thing. Compound media is like really something that is amazing at this time.
Yeah.
We need it. We need it.
We definitely do, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I had a question about the blue cheese bit, of course.
Yeah.
Legendary. Now it became requested. I'm sure when people didn't get it, they became very disappointed, like they were gypped. Did you ever run across an ass you didn't like, in the sense of like, were they handpicked ahead of time or just randomly out of the audience?
Yeah, they were basically we'd ask some, volunteers, we explain what was happening, and they came up. I mean, I had, mostly they were hot. Okay. They were hot. And I once had a mother and daughter, and the husband was there. I was going to retire after that night. I remember being upstate New York. We asked for somebody, and somebody stood up, and I seen a shadow on the wall. And I see this fucking thing. I'm like, no. And then everyone's yelling, and I was like, I had to do it. But that wasn't even the worst one. The worst one was in Pennsylvania. This girl came in late. She must have took a shit and walked up a hill to get there. And she came, and it just stunk. And I was like, it was bad. I only threw up one time. I threw up, I think it was when it was in Ohio. The girl came up. She had, looked down at her fucking, her pussy lips were just like, it looked like a stingray. You know what I mean? Two stingrays like stuck together, and it was just hanging. And it's probably, you can get it on the internet probably, unless they took it down. But but it was like I was sick to my stomach from that. Like, and Beetlejuice, one time we had a girl in Philadelphia, and she had a tampon hanging out, and you see the string, and Beetlejuice goes, "Look, a mouse." It was like it was just like, if I ever brought it back now, it would be the biggest thing and the worst thing in the world, because people would boycott. I don't know what to make, what would happen these days.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was something. They got a great comedy show, and then they got something that they'll never see ever again on stage.
Yeah. The Killers of Comedy tour, those shows were bananas. I didn't get out. I didn't see any of them, but you got to work with, Florentine, Sal, Richie, and all them, and some of the whack packers like Beetle would be there.
Yeah.
Bigfoot. How, the whack packers there, when they're pretty, I assume that they're like, they don't play it up. And it's almost with the Iron Sheik, like a question with the Iron Sheik is like, is he always Iron Sheik, or is like behind closed doors? Is Iron Sheik and some of the, the whack packers, they're more mellow, I assume, and not so crazy.
Well, the Iron Sheik is, he's like more, he goes, Mr. Levy, you tell me when, and I do. He goes, I, you just let me know when to, and we just get him going. He go into character, and it was amazing, man. Somebody in Pittsburgh, he went by the stage, and somebody scooped his leg out from under him, and he fell, and we tried to grab the guy. He's like going through and the fucking beating the fuck out of him on the way out, as the guy's trying to escape. But like, Beetlejuice was calm only until he started drinking.
Yeah.
And then it was like, sometimes it was so out of control, he would want to walk home from Los Angeles, like, I'm walking home.
Yeah.
And like, it was work, but you know what I mean? It was fun. You look back at it, like Gary the Retard was always just happy, you know what I mean? And like Gary would do some of the Portland, Seattle ones, but Beetle would do almost all of them,
Yeah.
And he had a fun time. He really enjoyed and the people love to see him, you know, but they try to get him fucked up, and I had to watch and make sure that they didn't. They would give him a big thing of whiskey, and I'm like, you know, I had to knock it down, and Beatles yelling at me, and I'm like, you can't give him this. He's gonna look at the size of him, you know. But he liked to smoke weed, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, he's some of him and Hank the Angry Dwarf is some legendary stuff. Them going back and forth. You know, whenever Pete would get a little drunk, he'd get violent. When he get drunk, he'd start punching people. So it always made me laugh. You know what I mean?
Yeah. See, I never got to meet Hank. You know, Hank was just before my time in that shit. But like we had so much fun on the road, you know. But it really wasn't. It wasn't really a comedy show, like, you know, because we didn't always have Florentine on it. So we didn't have like, you know, you had people that weren't really comedians. I think me and Shuli were basically on the only comedian. Sal was really new. Richard, you know, was really, you know, new. And the rest were whack packers. So it was like Shuli at the beginning, me at the end, you know. And Yucko would do really good a lot of times, but you know, people loved Yucko. And even though he was just when I first I didn't know what to make. I thought he was just I thought he was going to be the biggest asshole you ever met. He was the sweetest guy in the world off without, you know what I mean?
Without the makeup,
Even with the makeup, but backstage, just like the way he did the character was like fucking incredible. I remember he was doing a show on MTV, and I was a writer, so I would come up with shit, go that person there, go say this, say this, say that, and then he'd fucking go in and just attack with all the shit that we all had. And then we'd have them sign a clearance to be on the show before we did it, because there was people chasing people, trying to rip up the contracts, you know. It was brutal. And you know, to think that shit would never be on TV today.
No, I know he wasn't a part of the shows, but Elegant Elliot Offen, what is he still around? Whatever happened with him?
Well, he's still around the city, running around and doing that, and he likes to jog in his outfits or whatever. But he got banned from the show because he started punching a wall. He punched a hole in a wall, and he threatened. So you can't threaten people. I found that out
I heard
too.
about that.
Yeah. So you know, you can't really threaten people. But you know, it's like sometimes you try to get your, you know, because nobody pays attention when you can you know what I mean, over something bad. You gotta fucking make a little bit of a scene, and I didn't know it was that soft up there. I kind of got you know, I just wanted to leave at that point, and they didn't want me to leave, and they fucking did everything to get me banned from the thing, saying I attacked security. I never attacked security. So it got me really mad. I was on fucking a lot of Xanax at that moment, you know, that for the years after too, before I got off it. And it just takes you don't have a mood in the middle. It's either happy, really happy, or really fucking somebody's dying. And it's a horrible thing, really. All those kind of pills that do stuff like that to you, it's horrible, you know. So I had to deal with, you know, the fucking NYPD Blue coming to my house and all that shit, the FBI involved. But you know, I just explained myself what happened, and they said at the end that, you know, if you don't hear from us, that's a good thing. And I haven't heard from them. So, and you know, now I'm off Xanax, and I think I use a little bit of weed a lot now for pain and that. But the whole thing is that it makes you think before you react. And I think if everybody smoked weed, there'd be no crime in the world.
I agree with that. You know, like I told you in the beginning, we're kind of film people. I was curious about your involvement in Stood Up, writing and actor. You know what I mean? How did that come about?
You know, I knew a guy that, you know, he was friends with my friend Joe Conti, and he wrote porn. And, you know, anything, you know, involved with the Howard Stern show, and of course these people are going to come up and try to, you know, and I was like, okay, we can write one. It's pretty funny, you know, if you look at it. And my acting was horrible, but it was fun, you know. It was actually fun to do it. And it was like, you know, we probably wrote it in like 3 days, but we were up for an award. We didn't get the award. for like best comedy porn or something like that.
Yeah.
And but it was fun. Like I did some independent things that it was just like hard. When I look back at it, I'm like, I was, I can act better now than I was able to then because I didn't care. Like, they only wanted me in there for a reason, because I was on the Stern Show. It's because it gets a little bit more of a push, and it gives Howard something to talk about. It's like, it's funny. Like sometimes you would, you do fucked up shit. Like on the road, you'd go a little extra because you knew it would give them great material, to go after. And that's why he kind of liked us going on the road, but then he didn't like us going on the road.
Right.
So it was a little of back and forth with that, but it did bring, great stories in. We got a lot of tape on Beetlejuice. And we have on YouTube, it's what is it? Killers of Comedy on the Road, which is pretty good. The promoter just died recently, which is weird.
Yeah.
He was young.
Sort of, we're talking about with the porno film. What's the actual format? I mean, it's like a 30-page, pretty much a treatment when you write a porn, or is it, you leave out the action. What's that?
No, yeah. You basically wrote, you wrote the characters you had, and then they would come. This goes in, walk into the room, or this one will be sitting next to you. You write the lines and that shit. And just go from there. And it was like, you filmed a little bit each day. And by the time, you kind of knew the lines after a little while. Like I'm not one to fucking sit there and go over lines at home, So I kind of learned, I got them in my head a little bit. And I was like, all right, let's go to this part and then we'll stop, because I can get that. But it was weird. But and then the sex scenes were like an hour and like you're sitting around, it's like, fuck, I don't want to be here all fucking day.
Yeah.
But it's weird. They would go on and back in you're just sitting there watching like a creep, and then you'd have lunch.
Yeah. Right. The fluffer system. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't really see a fluffer. I don't well, they had some, there and that. It was like there's such different levels and like porn girls, like you see some and you're like, fucking, I'm hotter than her, and she's like, I'm a porn star. Okay, yeah, whatever, but it was like most of them were real nice, which was amazing.
Yeah. It's like anything, you know what I mean? You're trying to have fun and do the best thing and get the best product you can,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Is there any talks for a rematch with Bonaducci?
He's almost dead now.
Put him in the dirt? Yeah.
Did you see him? He's got a cane and that stuff.
He's got a cane now?
Dude, he's got something that I think he's got MS or something. Like he fucking lost all this weight. He's got a cane. I mean, I feel bad for him, even though he's fucking,
It'd be a charity boxing event then.
And that's what the other one was supposed to be, but it was like fucking like I was set up. But well, it's okay. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, he's got MS and I'm fucking living life right now, So
who really won is what we're trying to say. You know what I mean?
Well, without thinking what would happen, that day, if it wasn't like I thought it was going to go a different thing and it was going to be an angle, and it wasn't. I fell for it, and I'm the idiot. So, I got hit.
I think that Danny, especially at that time, I think he had a lot of rage within him because, being the butt of the joke and the Partridge Family deal and being kind of a child star. So I think that, I don't know where your head was at, but you were probably going into it having fun. And he was probably like, I'm going to try and kill this person for everybody that ever talked shit about me.
Well, yeah, that's basically what, I mean, by the time I realized it was kind of too late, you know what I mean? And that's okay. That you learn from your mistakes, but it's like, life got him.
Yeah.
You can't go around fucking being a fucking liar and that shit. God watches you.
Yeah. We want to talk about the Blunt movie real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Because my friend over here, Alexander Hawk, just returned from Texas, was shooting a movie with Angie Everhart.
Yeah.
And she
was great to work with. We did medieval horror movie down in Texas called Devil's Night. He plays one of the lead characters. It was great working with her. She's a sweetheart.
Really? How old is she now?
I don't know. I'm thinking probably late 40s.
Is she still hot?
I think she is.
Good.
I think wasn't she the inspiration for the girl in Private Parts in the bathroom, like bathtub scene with Howard and Fred?
I don't know.
For some reason, I wanted to think that she was like the inspiration. She didn't play it in the film, but she was like that story was involving her. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Well, Bob, this was fantastic. We usually close out the episode with one question.
Yeah.
Like I said before, we have a lot of entertainers and such on the show. We try to give a nice heartfelt ending, and we go, would you have any advice for anybody out there, comedian, actor, director, author, what have you, that is out there plugging away, and maybe they're going through a tough time or a slump or what have you? Do you have any advice that you would give to anybody in your life that would kind of cover that?
Well, the first thing is, when things are going good, you're going to have a lot of friends. And then when things are going bad, your phone isn't going to ring that much, and you can't take it personal. You have to realize that this is business, and it's just not. You'll find good friends in here, but most people are just out for themselves. So you have to keep that, and you're gonna go up and down. It's a weird business, and the business changes a lot, and you're always going, oh my God, like what is going on? I can't figure out, what do I have to do to get back to where I was? And you're trying to figure it out because it's a different game all the time. When I was out from the car accident for a while, I mean, when I come back now, after the COVID, I'm like, wow, I mean, I'm still trying to figure this out. I was talking to a comedian last night about it, and I was like, it used to be pretty easy, but like the business gets fucked up because comedians will take less money and they fuck it up for other people because there's so many comedians. Anybody can be a comedian, you know what I mean? Anyone can say they're an actor, and it just fucks it up for everybody. You just got to put out the best product, and hopefully somebody will notice it, and just be good to people, and somebody will come around sooner or later again. But you can't, this is your dream, you know what I mean? This is what you wanted to do from the beginning. So why, if you got to get knocked down to get back up. You have to have that feeling of getting fucking the shit beat out of you to be able to come back and go, I'm never going to go back to where I was. I remember how bad that was. And I'm never going to have that happen again. It's the best thing to do.
That's great advice, yeah. LevyLand Live.
Yeah, Tuesdays at 7.
You and Shuli still doing the BS show?
No, we kind of stopped that now because we're going to try to get the Miserable Men. We're going to put more shows on it and like spin-offs like that on there on Patreon, Miserable Men Show. And then I do a show called Comics on Cannabis. And that's taken off, and that was pretty new when I stepped in. We're having fun with that. That's on YouTube, so that's free. That's on like I guess all the platforms. Like LevyLand's only on YouTube, and and we're starting to put some clips of the Miserable Men Show up, telling a little bit of the story with Lenny when he came on and he just come to be part of the show, and it's just like it's weird.
We should have Alex should have done that to be a part of the show. Well, everybody go out there and support Bob for sure. This was a lot of fun. We'd love to have you on the show again in the future.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Thank you for your time, and have a great day over there, man.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you soon.
See you soon. Cool beans. Yeah, heck yeah. So that was the great Bob Levy, killing it on the BoomBastiCAST episode. It was a great honor and a pleasure to have Bob on the show because as far back as I can remember in my early teen years, maybe even a little earlier, you know what I mean, like the Howard Stern show, Opie and Anthony, these shows, without those shows, I wouldn't be doing what we're doing. At least Alex would be here by himself. You know what I mean? Like if it wasn't for those radio shows, I wouldn't be here.
I always find myself wondering what would have happened if my pal Matt never got the bug, if he never decided to go down that primrose path down down to the entertainment mecca, which is podcasting right now.
That's true.
And film and all the other good things. I wouldn't have a great friend, and we wouldn't have these great shows.
Believe that. And we wouldn't have Bob Levy on the show. Bob was great on our show. He was great on all those shows. His stand-ups are really funny. You got to give kudos to Bob because we always talk about comedians that kind of push the envelope and aren't afraid to kind of get edgy and do shit that other people wouldn't do. And Bob is one of those dudes, and we give him mucho respect. And hell yeah, that was a really great episode. I know the Hawkman will complain that he didn't get to say much. We kind of cruised. We did a little cruise. But is there anything that you want to ask that we didn't get to?
As I said before on different things, is that when we're on a roll, even if it's mainly Matt just talking and I'm just there listening, I mean, the thing is, it's all about, I jump in when I think I need to jump in.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's a lot of fun for me to sit back and listen because I don't know that much about Bob myself because, unlike Matt, I never really followed the Howard Stern show. Yes, I know. Saying that is hurting my friend, and he's going to go to bed and cry about that. But I didn't. But I ended up. Heck, the whole wrestling aspect. I didn't know about his connection with wrestling, and we ended up learning a lot about the wrestling aspect and stories about that I didn't think we would be talking about, which is what this entire thing is about, is talking about things going down paths that we don't necessarily know that we're going to go down and find new interesting things that way.
I must blame Wikipedia for giving me bad research. When the Wikipedia told me that he was in the wrestling business before comedy, and kind of fucked me up a little bit in there, but it's okay. Wikipedia, we will let you exist.
We are only human. We try to do our research, but occasionally we don't always get the best information. But that's okay. It happens, and we roll with the punches, and we keep going on from there.
And that was legendary. We'll have Bob on again in the future.
Heck yeah.
I think he had fun and we had fun. And when everybody has fun, there's big returns. You know what I mean? Booyakasha. If you enjoyed this, I do want to say, I discovered something recently that I wanted to bring up. Patrick Kilpatrick episode. I said something in that I said, didn't you play two parts in the Toxic Avenger? And he said, no, I only played one. And I went to go see the Toxic Avenger 2 weeks ago before Hawkman left for Texas. All right. In the theater on 35mm print with Lloyd Kaufman in attendance. We'll get Lloyd on the show in the future. And damn it, he does play two characters in the film. So he didn't even know it. Nothing about love for fucking Patrick, but he forgot his own deal. I just want to make mention of that because I remember in that interview when I asked him, he said, no, I felt like a big fucking dummy. So I was right. And Patrick, you were wrong. You know what I mean? I know you watch the show, so don't be too upset. Don't beat me up. You are a tough guy. You're a fucking animal. I wouldn't want to fuck with you like that. You're a good dude. The documentary's still going on with us. Anybody that doesn't think Patrick Kilpatrick is hard to the fucking core, on his Instagram, there was a picture of him throwing himself into a fucking ditch. I wouldn't do that. He did it. He's got more balls and backbone than Matty Fisher, I guess. But you all knew that already. So with that being said, You know, if you like this, check out more episodes. Either, you know, we're streaming anywhere you listen to podcasts. You also get the video interview of this. So just keep in mind that there's a, whenever you see this video, which I highly recommend, I'd rather watch a video audio instead of just an audio, but there is audio episodes on all platforms, which is extended and different cuts of interviews, as well as we do like almost weekly. We're like a weekly show, so you can catch us talking about whatever solo without a guest, which maybe you don't like that, but you'll never know unless you try it out. So check that out. And if you're looking to support a little financially, we have the Boombastic streaming page on Patreon. Somebody reached out to me recently and said, "Dag, I want to see DJ Stan the Man. Is it streaming anywhere, or how do I buy it?" And I said, well, you can get the hard copy from us, or if you join up with Boombastic streaming on the Patreon service, I think the second tier gets you all the films for free. First tier gets you everything, you know, podcasts for free and advanced stuff and all these cool perks. A lot of cool perks there. I don't want to sell it too much. In case you don't give a fuck from the get-go, I'm just wasting valuable breath and words that I could be saving my life with later before I go out. Then, you know, go check out that stuff and support. We appreciate everybody who supports. And we do appreciate those who support financially a little bit more than we appreciate everybody else. So let that be known. If you're looking to give yourself the extra pat on the back this holiday season, check out Boombastic streaming on Patreon. Again, this was a banger of an episode. Bob Levy, again, mucho gracias for coming on. You're a legend, and we got nothing but love and respect for you. And we'll catch everybody on the next episode of the BoomBastiCAST.